"I never thought feet could do anything but disgust me," he muttered, eyes flickering nervously to the soft curve of her bare arch. But when her toes flexed just so, something inside him stirred. A tension he couldn't explain, a pull he never expected. The silence between them grew thicker, charged with a secret neither dared voice aloud. "Welcome to Goddess Foot Confessions. Let's uncover what really happened." I never planned to notice her. It was just a regular Thursday afternoon, the kind where I usually buried myself in work and try not to think too much about anything. The cafe was quiet, sunlight streaming through the large windows, dust motes dancing in the warm glow. I sat in the corner, nursing a lukewarm coffee, lost in the haze of my own thoughts. Then she appeared. She didn't rush in with the usual bustle. Instead, she floated in like a whisper, barefoot, her toes gently brushing the polished wooden floor. The sight stopped me cold. I felt a sudden, strange pull, a mixture of curiosity and something darker, something I'd spent years suppressing. My eyes darted to the curve of her ankle, the way her slender foot arched delicately with each step. Her smile was soft as she found a seat nearby, slipping off her sandals with a casual grace that seemed effortless. I caught myself staring, not out of admiration, but something more conflicted. I'd always thought feet were unpleasant, unclean, a part of the body I could avoid and forget. But watching her bare feet, so vulnerable and real, stirred something inside me I wasn't prepared to name. She looked up, catching my gaze briefly, and something flickered in her eyes, an unspoken invitation, or maybe a challenge. My breath hitched. The air between us thickened, charged with an energy I hadn't felt in years. The quiet cafe suddenly felt smaller, as if our worlds had condensed into this single moment of silent understanding. I wanted to look away, to retreat to the safety of my old beliefs. But I couldn't. Not this time. Something was shifting beneath the surface, something unexpected, something that demanded attention. I was on the edge of something new, something fragile and terrifying, and I had no idea what would come next. My mind raced as she settled comfortably at her table, crossing one foot over the other, the soft skin of her soul exposed to the world. I tried to will away the strange fascination tightening my chest. Feet were supposed to be something I hated, something I avoided, and yet there I was unable to look away. Every small movement she made, the flex of her toes, the gentle stretch of her arch, felt like a secret message sent directly to a part of me I thought was long dead, a part I'd buried deep beneath years of rationalization and quiet denial. I remembered the reasons behind my aversion. Childhood memories of a humiliating incident at a family gathering. The jeers, the laughter as someone mocked my own feet, leaving me feeling exposed and ashamed. Since then, I'd built a wall, convincing myself feet were disgusting, unworthy of attention. But now, that wall felt fragile, cracking under the weight of a curiosity I couldn't suppress. She caught my gaze again and smiled knowingly, as if she sensed the storm brewing inside me. Her bare foot brushed lightly against the floor, then, almost accidentally, it grazed the edge of my leg. The touch was electric, sending a shock through my nerves, awakening feelings I wasn't ready to face. My breath hitched. Was this happening? Was I actually drawn to this? To her feet. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. I shifted in my seat, heart pounding in my chest, trying to make sense of the unfamiliar ache growing inside me. Something was stirring. Something new. Something dangerous. And I didn't know if I was ready to let it in. She stood suddenly, her movements slow and deliberate. I watched as she rolled her shoulders and stretched, the tension in her body melting away in the soft light of the cafe. As she looked back, toes curling just so, the flex subtle but impossible to ignore. My eyes traced the gentle lines of her bare feet, the delicate arch, the soft pads that pressed lightly against the wood. There was a vulnerability there that called to something inside me, a fragile beauty I had never allowed myself to see. Her toes twitched in a slow, rhythmic dance, and I felt a rush of heat flood my cheeks. My breath caught, like a secret was being whispered between us, but no words were spoken. She glanced over, and for a moment our eyes locked. That fleeting connection spoke volumes. Invitation, curiosity, and maybe even understanding. Her bare foot brushed again against my leg, accidental or not, and my pulse surged with a new, confused urgency. I wanted to pull away. Part of me screamed to retreat to the safety of what I knew. But my body betrayed me, leaning closer, drawn inexplicably to the softness and the promise hidden in that simple barefoot gesture. My mind spun. How could something so small unsettle me so completely? Was this a crack in my carefully constructed defenses, or the beginning of something I'd never dared imagine? She smiled gently, stepping closer, toes grazing my hand as she reached out. The warmth of her skin against mine was electric, a silent invitation to cross a boundary I'd never thought I'd approach. I hesitated, trembling. The world around us faded, and for a moment, it was just the two of us, connected by something wordless, something that defied logic. That barefoot gesture shattered everything I thought I knew. Would you like to come with me to a yoga class sometime? Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, but the sparkle in her eyes was unmistakable. Yoga, of all things. I blinked, caught off guard. The thought of spending an hour surrounded by bare feet, stretching, flexing, exposed, filled me with equal parts dread and inexplicable intrigue. Yoga, I managed, my voice rough. I don't know, she smiled, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. It's not just about the poses. It's about connection, awareness. You might be surprised. Her words stirred something deep within me. A small flicker of trust, a whisper that maybe I could face my fears with her by my side. I hesitated, wrestling with my own prejudices. The image of bare feet, of toes flexing in rhythm with breath and movement, flooded my mind. The old shame threatened to rise, but something else was stronger, a desire to understand, to unravel the tight knot of discomfort I'd carried for so long. All right, I said finally, voice barely above a whisper. I'll come. Her smile was radiant, lighting up the room. She reached out, fingers brushing mine, light, tentative. My skin tingled. The invitation felt like stepping onto a thin bridge stretched over an abyss of old fears. But with her hand barely touching mine, I found the courage to cross. For the first time in a long time, I was ready to let go. The yoga studio smelled faintly of sandalwood and fresh linen. The room was bathed in soft morning light, filtering through gauzy curtains, shadows flickering like quiet whispers. I stood awkwardly near the back, the wooden floor cool beneath my bare feet. Around me, the gentle rustling of mats and soft breaths created a serene rhythm. She was there, a calm presence in the midst of it all, her bare feet grounded, toes splayed gently as she moved with effortless grace. Every shift, every stretch revealed the delicate strength in her feet, the arches flexing, heels pressing lightly, toes curling with intention. I found myself watching, mesmerized, heart pounding as I fought to keep my composure. The line between fascination and fear blurred, my breath uneven as I tried to focus on the instructor's voice. During a pause, she came closer, brushing her hand lightly along my ankle. The contact sent warmth spiraling through me, grounding me in a way I hadn't expected. Her eyes met mine, steady and reassuring, a silent promise that I wasn't alone. I wanted to pull away, but my body remained rooted, drawn irresistibly to her subtle movements, to the soft light catching the curve of her foot. As the class continued, I struggled to suppress the swelling emotions, the fluttering ache deep in my chest. Every barefoot gesture, every gentle shift of weight became a conversation without words. By the end, I realized the walls I'd built around myself were beginning to crumble, not through force, but through quiet, gentle closeness. Something was changing, something fragile and beautiful. And it all began with her bare feet, just inches from mine. After the yoga class ended, I sat on the edge of my mat, heart still racing, but confused by the tangled mess of feelings inside me. The scent of incense lingered in the air, soft and comforting, yet my mind was anything but calm. I kept replaying her movements, the way her feet had flexed, the delicate arch that seemed almost sculpted by some unseen artist. It was maddening how such a simple, everyday part of the body could provoke such a storm within me. I'd spent so many years convincing myself that feet were nothing but repulsive, dirty, unworthy of attention. But now, every glance toward her bare skin sent a flutter through my chest that I couldn't explain away. I felt exposed, vulnerable in a way I hadn't anticipated. How could something I despised feel so magnetic? The old memories crept in, shadowing my thoughts. That cruel afternoon when a childhood friend had teased me relentlessly about my own feet, mocking their shape and size, making me feel small and broken. I'd hidden ever since, retreating from anything that reminded me of that pain. But her presence was unraveling those carefully stitched wounds. When she approached me afterward, her eyes warm and steady, my breath caught. She reached out, her fingers grazing my ankle with a tenderness that seemed to whisper promises of acceptance. It was a gesture that challenged every defense I'd built. I wanted to pull away, to retreat into my safe shell, but instead I found myself leaning in, drawn to her, to the possibility of healing. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared at my reflection and wondered how I'd come this far. The confusion swirling inside me was unsettling, yet beneath it was something new. Hope, maybe. The hope that with her, I might find peace with parts of myself I'd long rejected. But the question lingered. Could I really face this new side of me? Could I surrender to the unfamiliar pull she had awakened? One evening, after a long day of work, she invited me over. The apartment was warm, bathed in the golden glow of soft lamps and flickering candles. The faint scent of lavender filled the air, wrapping around me like a gentle embrace. We sat close on the plush rug, the silence between us comfortable and inviting. She stretched her legs out in front of her, slipping off her sandals and revealing feet that seemed almost luminous in the low light. Her toes curled slowly, flexing with deliberate grace, and I found myself unable to look away. Something stirred deep within me, a slow, steady beat of longing and curiosity. "Would you like a foot massage?" she asked softly, her voice a tender invitation. My breath hitched. The thought both terrified and fascinated me. I nodded, heart pounding as she took my hand, guiding it gently to rest on her ankle. Her skin was warm and smooth beneath my fingertips, the subtle curve of her arch inviting exploration. I hesitated, unsure of what was expected, but she smiled reassuringly, encouraging me to relax. As I began, my fingers tracing slow circles along her sole, I felt a connection grow, fragile, intimate, unspoken. The world around us faded, replaced by the quiet rhythm of touch and breath. Her toes flexed lightly, and I caught my breath, lost in the simple beauty of the moment. It wasn't just a massage. It was an opening, a silent conversation between two souls bridging fear and trust. In that intimate space, my walls softened, and a new tenderness took root. Over the following days, our interactions deepened in subtle ways. The way she moved her feet, sometimes brushing against mine with casual familiarity, became a language of its own. I learned to read the silent signals hidden in toe curls, gentle presses, and fleeting touches. In crowded rooms, her foot would find mine beneath the table, a secret touch that sent warmth flooding through me. Those brief contacts spoke louder than words, conveying comfort, playfulness, and trust. Each time, my pulse quickened, the tension between us growing like an unspoken promise. At night, as we shared quiet moments on the couch, I watched the soft rise and fall of her bare feet, the delicate flexing of her toes as she relaxed. The small details, the subtle shine on her nails, the gentle curve of her heel, became anchors in a storm of emotions I was only beginning to understand. Yet, despite the growing closeness, my mind wrestled with fear. What did this mean? Could I embrace these feelings without losing myself? The silent signals were both a comfort and a challenge, pushing me toward a vulnerability I'd long avoided. But with every touch, every glance, I felt the walls around my heart crumble further. The language of feet was no longer foreign. It was becoming the rhythm of us. One evening, as the rain tapped softly against the window, the past resurfaced. The memories I tried to bury clawed their way into my thoughts, demanding to be faced. I remembered the mocking laughter of children, the cruel words aimed at my feet, the humiliation that had sealed my disdain. It wasn't just dislike. It was pain wrapped in fear and shame. Those wounds shaped the walls I built around myself. I shared these memories with her in a rare moment of openness, my voice trembling as I spoke. She listened without judgment, her hand resting lightly on mine, grounding me. Her presence was a balm, slowly helping me unravel the knots of guilt and hurt. She showed me that vulnerability was strength and that healing could begin with acceptance. That night, the past lost some of its power, replaced by the possibility of a new beginning, one where I could see beauty in what I once feared. With each passing day, trust blossomed between us. She guided me gently, never rushing, always patient. Her touch was a quiet assurance that I was safe to explore, to feel, to be. We shared small rituals, barefoot walks in the park, quiet evenings with soft music and warm tea, moments where feet spoke louder than words. Through these, I learned to let go of fear, embracing a tenderness that was both new and profound. Trust built a bridge over the chasm of doubt, leading me toward a freedom I never thought possible. With her, I was discovering not just a new fascination, but a deeper connection to her and to myself. After the yoga class ended, I stayed seated on the edge of my mat, heart pounding, but my mind tangled in confusion. The air still smelled faintly of incense and fresh linen, the soft music fading into silence. But inside me, chaos brewed. Her bare feet, so delicate and expressive during class, had unsettled me more than I expected. How could such a simple thing, a foot, evoke such strong feelings? I remembered the roots of my aversion. An old memory haunted me. The cruel laughter from childhood when someone mocked my feet, calling them ugly and awkward. That humiliation had cut deep, shaping my years with shame and avoidance. I'd built walls to protect myself, convincing myself feet were simply repulsive, unworthy of thought or gaze. Yet now, those defenses crumbled. Her foot had brushed my leg softly, accidental or deliberate, I couldn't tell, and it sent a jolt of warmth through me, as if awakening a part of myself I had long denied. The tension between wanting to pull away and the magnetic pull to lean closer tangled inside my chest. Later, alone in my apartment, I stared at my reflection and wondered who I was becoming. The feelings were terrifying and exhilarating. This attraction to feet, to her bare, graceful feet, clashed violently with my old beliefs. It was like standing at the edge of a vast unknown. Could I embrace this part of myself? Could I surrender to the yearning she ignited without fear? The questions spun endlessly in my mind. I was vulnerable but curious, frightened but hopeful. She had stirred something fragile and new, something worth exploring. The possibility of healing past wounds whispered like a soft breeze. Despite the conflict, I felt the faintest spark of courage to walk forward, to face what I'd hidden for so long. And with that spark, the journey began. One evening, after work, she invited me to her apartment. The door opened to warmth, soft lamps, flickering candles, and the gentle scent of lavender wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. The space felt safe, quiet, and intimate. We sat close on the plush rug, the silence between us thick with unspoken thoughts. She slipped off her sandals, revealing bare feet that seemed almost luminous in the candlelight. Her toes flexed slowly, curling and stretching like a quiet dance. I found myself mesmerized, heart fluttering in a way I hadn't felt before. "Would you like a foot massage?" she asked softly, her voice an invitation tinged with kindness. My breath caught. The offer both terrified and fascinated me. Nodding, I let her guide my hand to rest on her ankle. Her skin was warm and smooth beneath my fingers, the gentle curve of her arch inviting exploration. I hesitated, uncertain of the right touch, but her reassuring smile calmed me. I began tracing slow circles on her sole. The rhythm of touch and breath created a quiet conversation between us, silent but profound. Her toes flexed lightly, and I caught my breath again, lost in the moment's fragile beauty. It wasn't just a massage. It was trust unfolding, a tender exchange bridging vulnerability and connection. Walls I'd built crumbled, replaced by a new tenderness blossoming quietly between us. In that intimate space, I began to glimpse a freedom I hadn't imagined possible, one born not of words, but of gentle closeness. In the days that followed, our connection deepened in subtle, unspoken ways. The language of feet became our private dialogue. Her bare foot would brush against mine beneath tables, a secret message in the softness of skin meeting skin. Each contact sent warmth flooding through me, stirring a mix of comfort and longing. Toe curls, gentle presses, and fleeting touches became signs of trust and playfulness. In crowded rooms or quiet moments, her movements spoke volumes, weaving a thread of intimacy between us. At night, as we sat side by side, I watched her feet, arches flexing, toes shifting with gentle grace. The soft light caught the delicate contours, turning them into something almost sacred. The small details, like the sheen on her nails or the curve of her heel, became anchors amid my swirling emotions. But alongside the growing closeness was fear. What did this mean? Could I accept this part of myself without losing control? The silent signals challenged everything I thought I knew. Still, with every brush of skin and lingering glance, the walls around my heart weakened. The language of feet was no longer foreign. It had become the rhythm of us, a delicate melody I was learning to hear. One rainy evening, memories long buried rose up with unexpected force. The hurt I tried to hide clawed through the surface, demanding to be faced. I recalled the childhood humiliation, the cruel taunts about my feet, the laughter that made me feel broken and small. That pain had shaped my fears, building walls to keep the world's judgment at bay. It wasn't simple dislike. It was trauma wrapped in shame. In a rare moment of vulnerability, I shared this with her. My voice trembled as I spoke, exposing wounds I'd kept hidden for years. She listened without judgment, her hand resting lightly on mine, a quiet anchor. Her presence soothed me, slowly unraveling the knots of pain and self-doubt. She showed me that vulnerability was strength, that healing could begin with acceptance. That night, the past lost some of its power, replaced by hope, a fragile possibility that I could reclaim parts of myself I'd long abandoned. Trust grew between us, quietly and steadily. She never rushed me, always patient, her touch a soft reassurance. With gentle guidance, she invited me to explore new sensations, to feel without fear. We shared simple rituals, barefoot walks beneath autumn leaves, evenings of soft music and warm tea, moments where words faded and touch spoke instead. Through these, I learned to let go of old fears, embracing tenderness and connection. Trust built a bridge over doubt, leading me to a freedom I never imagined. With her, I was discovering not just fascination, but a deeper connection to her and to myself. Each day, the walls crumbled further, replaced by a quiet strength born of acceptance and love. The soft glow of candlelight filled the room, casting flickering shadows on the walls. We sat close, the air thick with unspoken tension. The quiet hum of the city outside felt distant, as if the world had paused for this fragile moment between us. Her bare feet rested gently against mine, toes curling softly with each breath. My heart raced, and the weight of all the feelings I'd been burying pressed on me. Finally, I found the courage to speak. "I've never felt like this before," I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Not just about feet, but about everything. You've awakened something in me I thought I'd lost. She looked up, her eyes reflecting a tender understanding that both comforted and unsettled me. It's okay, she said softly. You don't have to be afraid. I hesitated, then continued. I thought I hated feet because of what happened long ago. But being with you, seeing your feet, feeling your touch, it's changed everything. It's like I'm learning to love a part of myself I never knew existed. Her fingers traced lazy circles along my arm, grounding me. Love is complicated, she murmured, but it's also freeing. You're not alone. The vulnerability between us deepened, a silent promise hanging in the air. I reached out, tentatively brushing my hand over her arch, the skin warm and soft beneath my fingertips. A shiver ran through me, part anticipation, part awe. Thank you, I whispered, for helping me see, for being patient. She smiled, the kind of smile that held no judgment, only acceptance. We're discovering this together. That night, as I lay in bed, her words echoed softly in my mind. The fear that once gripped me loosened its hold, replaced by a fragile hope. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, I believed I could face it, not alone, but with her. In the quiet darkness, something shifted. The walls I'd built around my heart began to crumble, brick by brick, opening the way to a love that was as unexpected as it was real. Walking through the city streets, one crisp morning, the world felt different, sharper, more vivid. The scent of fallen leaves mingled with the cool breeze, and the golden light of dawn painted everything in soft hues. I walked beside her, our bare feet tapping lightly on the pavement, connected in a way that transcended words. Without thinking, my gaze drifted downward. Her feet, the arches, the gentle flex of toes, caught my attention once again. It was no longer discomfort or confusion, but a quiet fascination, a deep appreciation that filled me with warmth. I realized then that what I'd once feared had become a source of beauty and comfort. The boundaries I'd built to protect myself were fading, replaced by an unexpected awakening. As we paused beneath a tree, her foot brushed mine in a casual, effortless gesture. The simple contact sent a ripple of warmth through me, grounding me in the moment. I met her eyes, seeing the same understanding mirrored there. That day marked a turning point, a subtle but profound shift in how I saw myself and the world. What had begun as fear was blossoming into acceptance, trust, and something more tender. The unexpected awakening stirred within me a longing, not just for her, but for a new way of being, a way that embraced vulnerability, connection, and love in its many forms. With every passing day, the walls I'd built around my heart grew thinner. The fear that once shackled me loosened its grip as she gently guided me through uncharted territory. The barriers I constructed to keep my feelings hidden began to crumble, revealing a vulnerability I hadn't known I possessed. Her presence was a constant reassurance, a steady anchor in a sea of uncertainty. She never pressured me, only offered patience and quiet encouragement. Each touch, each glance, was a small victory in a journey toward acceptance. I found myself drawn to the softness of her skin, the delicate movements of her feet that once filled me with dread. Now, they became symbols of trust, intimacy, and connection. The subtle curl of her toes, the gentle press of her heel. These gestures spoke a language I was eager to learn. Breaking through these barriers wasn't easy. Moments of doubt and fear still surfaced, whispering old warnings in the quiet of night. But her unwavering presence helped me face those shadows, replacing them with hope and courage. I began to embrace the parts of myself I'd long denied, the feelings, desires, and truths that had been buried beneath layers of shame. With her by my side, I discovered strength in vulnerability and freedom in honesty. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, I was ready to step into the light, leaving behind the shadows that had held me captive. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, she invited me to explore a new kind of connection. Sitting close on the floor, her bare foot rested lightly on my lap, the warmth of her skin radiating through the thin fabric of my pants. "Let me show you," she whispered, guiding my hand to her arch. My fingers trembled as I traced the delicate curve, the softness beneath my touch awakening sensations I'd never known. The gift of touch became a bridge, connecting body and soul in a quiet conversation of trust and tenderness. She encouraged me to feel without judgment, to let go of fear and embrace vulnerability. As my hands moved slowly over her feet, the world faded away, leaving only the rhythm of breath and heartbeat between us. Each stroke, each gentle press, deepened our bond, weaving a tapestry of intimacy and acceptance. In that moment, touch was more than sensation. It was a language of love, a gift that transcended words and fears. It opened the door to a new understanding, a sacred space where I could be myself fully and without shame. Her eyes met mine, filled with warmth and reassurance, and I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. Evenings grew warmer as we shared quiet moments, our connection deepening in playful ways. One night, as soft music filled the room, she began a gentle dance, her toes moving rhythmically, curling and stretching in time with the melody. I watched, captivated by the subtle grace in each motion. The dance of her toes was hypnotic, a delicate expression of joy and freedom that stirred something deep inside me. Without thinking, I mirrored her movements, my own feet responding to the silent invitation. Our bare feet met and parted in a tender rhythm, weaving an unspoken dance of trust and affection. The playful teasing in her eyes encouraged me, breaking down the last walls of hesitation. Each curl and flex became a conversation, a shared moment of intimacy without words. The dance was more than movement. It was a celebration of connection, a tender exchange that deepened the bond between us. In that quiet space, we found freedom to be ourselves, to explore and express without fear or shame. As the music faded, we rested side by side, the warmth of our intertwined feet a reminder of the trust and love growing between us, a dance of souls united in silent harmony. Despite the quiet sanctuary we created together, fear lingered in the corners of my mind. The world outside was less forgiving, and the thought of judgment gnawed at me. What would people say if they knew? Would they understand or condemn? The stigma surrounding what I felt was heavy, a weight that pressed down on my chest. I wrestled with these fears during solitary moments, wondering if I could carry the burden of this secret affection. The anxiety of being misunderstood made me hesitate, retreating into old patterns of denial. Yet, whenever I looked at her, her bare feet resting gently near mine, I felt a strength that defied the outside world's cruelty. One afternoon, as we walked hand in hand through a crowded street, I felt eyes linger on us. I sensed the silent whispers, the judgments hidden behind polite smiles. But she squeezed my hand, grounding me. "Let them think what they want," she said softly. "This is our truth." Her words were a balm, reminding me that our bond was ours alone. The courage to embrace our connection wasn't about others' approval, but about honoring what felt real and true. Slowly, I learned to shield myself from the world's harshness, focusing instead on the warmth between us. Facing judgment became less daunting when shared with someone who understood without question. Together, we built a fortress of trust and love, protecting what was fragile and beautiful. The fear didn't vanish overnight, but it lost its power to dictate my choices. With her by my side, I felt empowered to live authentically, no longer shackled by shame. The outside world's gaze might be harsh, but inside, our shared intimacy was a refuge, a place where acceptance and love reigned. I realized that true freedom came not from hiding, but from embracing every part of myself, even those that others might reject. In the quiet moments we shared, words often felt unnecessary. Our connection deepened in the spaces between sentences, in the soft glances and subtle touches that spoke volumes. There was a silent understanding growing between us, a language crafted from trust and vulnerability. Sitting side by side, her bare foot would rest gently against my leg, a touch so light it barely stirred the air, yet heavy with meaning. Our eyes would meet, holding stories neither dared voice aloud. In those moments, the world seemed to fade, leaving only the two of us wrapped in a cocoon of quiet intimacy. The rhythm of our breathing synchronized, and the tension that once filled me melted away. It was as if our souls communicated through the gentle dance of feet and fingertips, a conversation deeper than words could reach. This silent understanding became a refuge. It allowed me to express feelings I couldn't articulate, to share fears and hopes through the simple act of presence. The weight of past pain lightened as we held space for one another in this unspoken bond. Sometimes, a slight curl of her toes or a soft press against my skin conveyed reassurance or longing. I learned to read these cues, responding with my own gestures, an intertwined finger, a gentle brush that deepened our connection. In the stillness, I found acceptance and belonging. The silent language we spoke was a testament to the trust we'd built, a reminder that love doesn't always need words to be understood. Through this quiet dance of understanding, I discovered a new way to connect, one that honored the complexity of our emotions and the depth of our shared journey. Our bond grew stronger with each passing day, woven from moments both grand and small. The intimacy between us deepened like a river carving its path, steady, patient, inevitable. Every touch, glance, and shared breath layered new meaning onto our connection. The rituals we created became sacred. Barefoot mornings spent walking through dewy grass, quiet evenings where her toes traced slow circles along my arm, laughter shared over playful foot teasing. All of it stitched us closer together. The physical closeness mirrored an emotional vulnerability I had never experienced before. I found comfort in the softness of her skin, the delicate strength in her feet that spoke of resilience and grace. Her presence grounded me, her touch a steady reminder that I was safe to explore this new facet of myself. Our conversations grew deeper too, peeling back layers of fear and shame to reveal raw honesty. We spoke of past wounds, hopes, and dreams, building trust brick by brick. The bond was no longer just physical. It was a meeting of hearts. Sometimes the connection took on a sacred quality. A glance exchanged across a room, a gentle touch under the table, a shared silence filled with understanding. All spoke of a love that transcended words. Through this deepening bond, I discovered parts of myself I hadn't known existed. The walls around my heart softened, replaced by a tenderness that reached beyond fear into hope. Together, we navigated the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength, forging a path toward acceptance and joy. Our bond was becoming a sanctuary, a place where love could flourish in its purest, most authentic form. The evening air was cool and fragrant, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine. We sat close on the porch, the world around us hushed and still. The soft glow of lanterns bathed her face in gentle light, highlighting the delicate curve of her smile and the subtle movements of her bare feet resting against mine. My heart hammered in my chest, a wild rhythm that echoed the longing I'd tried to ignore. The distance between us felt both unbearable and electric, charged with anticipation. Slowly, our eyes met, holding a silent question and a quiet answer. The moment stretched, suspended in time. Without thinking, I leaned in. Her breath caught, warm and sweet against my skin. Our lips met, soft, tentative, trembling with the weight of everything unsaid. It was a kiss that spoke of trust, vulnerability, and awakening. Her hand found mine, fingers intertwining as the world around us dissolved. The gentle press of her foot against my leg was a tender reminder of the journey that had led us here. The kiss deepened, a dance of discovery and connection. It was new and fragile, yet filled with a fierce certainty. When we finally parted, our foreheads rested together, breaths mingling. I saw the reflection of my own awe in her eyes, a mirror of hope and love. That first kiss wasn't just a physical act. It was a promise, a beginning of something profound and beautiful. In that quiet embrace, I knew our lives had changed forever. In the quiet aftermath of that first kiss, my heart was a tempest of emotions. Joy mingled with fear, desire tangled with doubt. I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about myself and what this new connection meant. Could I reconcile this awakening with the identity I'd long held? Was it possible to embrace these feelings without losing the person I'd been? The conflict was exhausting, a battle fought in the silence of my mind. Memories of past shame clashed with the tender hope blossoming in her touch. The fear of judgment whispered warnings, while the promise of love beckoned me forward. I spent restless nights wrestling with these contradictions, seeking clarity in the swirl of emotions. Every glance at her bare feet, every soft touch, pulled me deeper into a world I'd once rejected but now yearned to explore. Her patience was my anchor. She never rushed me, never demanded answers I wasn't ready to give. Instead, she offered quiet support, a steady presence in the storm. Slowly, I began to understand that love is not always simple or neat. It is messy, complex, and sometimes frightening. But it is also transformative and healing. With her, I was learning to accept the contradictions within myself, to hold space for both fear and hope, shame and joy. My heart was conflicted, yes, but it was also opening, ready to embrace the fullness of this unexpected love. One evening, under the soft glow of twilight, she shared her story. Her voice was quiet but steady as she spoke of vulnerability and acceptance. She told me about her own journey, how she had learned to embrace her desires despite the world's judgment and the fears that once held her back. Her openness stirred something deep within me. I realized I wasn't alone in this struggle. The shame and confusion I carried were not unique, but shared by many who had been afraid to accept parts of themselves. She spoke of moments when she had hidden her true self, and how breaking free had been both terrifying and liberating. Her honesty was a balm to my wounded heart, offering a path forward where love and acceptance could coexist. As she spoke, I felt the walls around my heart soften further. Her courage gave me strength to confront my own fears, to stop running from the parts of myself I'd long denied. That night, we held each other close, our bare feet entwined, a silent testament to the trust growing between us. The stories she shared became threads weaving us closer, binding us in a tapestry of shared understanding and hope. Opening up was no longer a threat, but a promise, a way to heal and grow together. With her by my side, I began to transform. The person I once was, burdened by shame and fear, slowly faded, replaced by someone who embraced complexity and vulnerability. This transformation wasn't sudden, but a gentle unfolding. Each day brought new discoveries about myself and our connection. I learned to cherish the tenderness in her touch and the subtle language of her feet. The old judgments lost their grip, replaced by a newfound freedom. I could finally accept the parts of me I'd hidden for so long, embracing desire without guilt. Our relationship evolved into a sanctuary, a space where authenticity flourished. The transformation extended beyond us, touching how I viewed the world and myself. I was no longer defined by fear, but by love, courage, and acceptance. Together, we stepped into a new beginning. The past, with its pain and confusion, no longer held us captive. We forged a future built on trust, respect, and shared discovery. Our days were filled with quiet rituals, barefoot walks, gentle touches, and moments of deep connection. We created a world where our love could thrive, free from judgment. This new beginning was fragile but strong, a testament to resilience and hope. In the stillness of a sunlit morning, we sat side by side, feet bare and intertwined. The world outside faded, leaving only the warmth between us. A peaceful contentment settled over me, a quiet joy born from a journey of acceptance and love. Our story was one of transformation, a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the deepest connection. As our fingers intertwined and toes curled together, I knew we had found something rare and beautiful, a love that transcended fear, judgment, and pain, a love that was quiet, profound, and forever ours.